war in Ukraine has been full of eye-catching and important storylines, from the military-industrial production of countries to the allegiances emerging due to this war, from the threat of a nuclear strike to long-term military strategies. But just like in any war, the key battles fought in this war draw the most attention of the public. The next key battle of this war is the Battle of Chasiv Yar, a town the existence of which many people probably were not aware of until recently. In this video, we will explain what is at stake in the Battle of Chasiv Yar and why it may have a major impact on the Ukraine war. Fans of modern warfare would surely enjoy our series on the World War II North African campaign and Pacific War, available exclusively to our YouTube members and patrons via the links in the description and pinned comment. Join their ranks and watch the series on the Albigensian Crusade, Fall of Sparta, First Punic War, Italian Reunification Wars, History of Prussia, Biography of Sulla, Russo-Japanese War, Reconquista, Persian Wars and War of Spanish Succession, and much more. Thanks for supporting us. Let's start with the basics. Chasiv Yar is a small town in the Bakhmut region of Donetsk Oblast of Ukraine. It is situated 10 kilometers west of Bakhmut. Chasiv Yar had a pre-war population of some 12,000 people. Many Chasiv Yar residents were employed in enterprises producing reinforced concrete products and mining fire clay resistant to high temperatures. There is a canal going through the eastern edge of the town, which hosts numerous water bodies and lies on high elevation. It took a while before the Russian invasion was really felt in Chasiv Yar, which at the time was quite far from the front line. The initial Russian offensive in Donbass was mostly focused on Luhansk Oblast, therefore Chasiv Yar remained in relative safety for months. But once the Russians increased the pace of strikes and bombings, Chasiv Yar became a target as well. On the 9th of July 2022, the Russians launched Uragan missiles on residential buildings in the town, killing at least 48 people. Chasiv Yar has been shelled and bombed on several occasions after that, and according to the town's mayor, Serhiy Chaus, there is not a single intact building left. As a result, only a few hundred civilians still remain in Chasiv Yar. But the real threat of a ground assault on Chasiv Yar emerged after the fall of Bakhmut in May 2023. The Ukrainian summer counter-offensive of 2023 pushed back the Russians from the flanks of the Bakhmut sector to some extent, but they have regained much of it ever since they went back on the offensive in September 2023. After completing the capture of Avdiivka following the heaviest battles and very painful losses, Russia came one step closer to achieving its immediate political goal in this war, the capture of Donbass. Hence their next goal, Chasiv Yar. Since regaining strategic momentum on the battlefield, while Ukraine has been struggling with ammunition shortages, Russia has advanced on Chasiv Yar from three directions. In the north, they captured Donetsk in April, attacking towards Kalinivka as we speak. In the central axis, there are conflicting reports about control over Ivanivska, but at the very least, even if the Russians have not captured it, they have bypassed it from the north to threaten the eastern outskirts of Chasiv Yar. The Russian army has also bypassed Ivanivska from the south, reaching the Seversky Donetsk-Donbass channel on this axis. The Russian advance on Chasiv Yar and the initial phase of the battle makes their plan quite obvious, and very similar to the tactics used during the Battle of Bakhmut. The Russian army plans to attack the town from the north, with the primary goal of cutting the supply line in Kalinivka, and from the south with the same purpose. This pincer movement is intended to be completed by a frontal assault on Chasiv Yar, for which the Russians would have to cross the canal. The Russian military correspondent Kots said, "To enter, it is necessary to first level the flanks and encircle the city, providing several entry points from different directions at once. This is necessary in order to stretch the enemy's defense forces in the city and to force them to constantly move in different directions under our constant fire." After shelling Chasiv Yar and conducting airstrikes on Ukrainian positions, which included ODAB 1500 thermobaric bombs, reportedly used for the first time since the start of the war, the Russians made their first ground assault on April 4th. The 98th Guards Airborne Division attacked the Canal micro-district on the eastern outskirts of Chasiv Yar, and claimed to have established positions there. For Ukraine, the concerning fact is that based on the available footage of the Russian assault, the Russian forces did not face any minefields on their approach to the Ukrainian positions, which obviously made their advance easier. And even though, as usual, the advancing Russian units lost many pieces of equipment, In this case, 19 vehicles out of 32, according to Ukrainian sources, the Russian command feels like they can afford these losses at this point. Remember, their production rates allow them to lose equipment in exchange for territorial advances. The Kremlin is content with this trade-off, at least for the time being. Another concerning development was the deployment of 4 Su-25 fighters in this assault, which apparently operated quite freely during the battle. This indicates that Ukraine lacks short-range air defense and mobile anti-aircraft weapons to deny air superiority over the skies of Chasiv Yar. The long-delayed arrival of US military aid might help in this regard. In the following days, the Ukrainian command, including the commander-in-chief Syrsky, acknowledged a complicated situation in the Chasiv Yar sector, but denied that the Russians had gained a foothold inside the town. The Russians attempted another assault, moving from the south of Ivaniivka on May 10th, but were repelled by Ukrainian artillery and FPV drones. Syrsky confirmed that Chasiv Yar's defenders have been reinforced with ammunition, drones and electronic warfare equipment, recognizing the threat of a Russian breakthrough there. The last Russian attempt to storm the Ukrainian positions in Chasiv Yar was conducted on April 22nd, but has been repelled by the Ukrainian army, according to the spokesperson of the Khortytsia group of forces, Nazar Voloshin. They have been regularly shelling Ukrainian positions with artillery and FAB glide bombs, very likely preparing for another round of attacks. The Russians are also reportedly bringing reinforcements and have 20,000 to 25,000 men gathered in this sector. Meanwhile, the Ukrainians are solidifying their defenses, building fortifications to withstand the Russian onslaught. Russian sources also report that the Ukrainians have laid mines on the eastern side of the Canal micro-district. Even though the Russians enjoy a significant firepower and manpower advantage at this point in the battle, it's not going to be a walk in the park for them. The canal creates an obstacle for mechanized assaults. If the Russians manage to break through the canal and create a bridgehead on its western shore, they would have to defeat Ukrainian defenses solidified by fortifications and several layers of trenches. Beyond that, Chasiv Yar has small water bodies, some industrial areas and fields, all working to the advantage of the defending side. There are also forests in Chasiv Yar, which can work for both sides. In some of the previous battles, the Russians have used forests to their advantage by managing to conceal the movement of small infantry units. But Ukraine's biggest advantage is that Chasiv Yar is situated on high elevation, making it more defensible. This brings us to the very reason that makes the Battle of Chasiv Yar so important. Ukraine's 5th Assault Brigade has referred to Chasiv Yar as the door to the rest of Donetsk Oblast. When you control Chasiv Yar, you control the most dominant elevation in the area and highways, leading to the so-called fortress cities of Donbass. H-20 goes through Konstantinivka, Drushkivka, Kramatorsk and Slovyansk. The Ukrainian army spokesperson Voloshin has acknowledged this. If the Russian occupiers manage to capture this city, they will have the opportunity to launch an offensive on Konstantinivka, Drushkivka, Kramatorsk and Slovyansk. These cities are the last stronghold of the Donetsk region, which is under the control of Ukraine. This is the dominant height in the region, and its control will allow the Russian invaders, if they achieve it, to significantly simplify the advance in the direction of Konstantinivka and the direction of Slovyansk and Kramatorsk. By now, it is an open secret that Putin sees the capture of Donbass as the minimum goal of his invasion. Syrsky has claimed that Putin wants to see Chasiv Yar occupied by May 9th, the day on which Russia celebrates the victory in the Great Patriotic War. But while this deadline, if it exists at all, seems very optimistic for the Russians, they are certainly pushing to take this key town before the American military aid finally reaches Ukrainian defenders. The Ukrainian army will dig deep to repel the Russian assaults. Losing Chasiv Yar threatens the loss of the rest of Donbass, which Ukraine desperately needs to avoid. Once again, we find ourselves watching yet another crucial chapter of the war in Ukraine, the Battle of Chasiv Yar, which may become another success of the Russian army in 2024, or yet another story of fierce Ukrainian defense, but this time accompanied by a victory. We will talk about the war in Ukraine more in the coming months, so make sure you are subscribed and have pressed the bell button. Please consider liking, subscribing and sharing, it helps immensely. Recently, we have started releasing weekly Patreon and YouTube member exclusive content. Consider joining their ranks via the link in the description or button under the video to watch these weekly videos, learn about our schedule, get early access to our videos, access our private Discord, and much more. This is the Kings and Generals channel, and we will catch you on the next one.